Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Maisy Mok. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. China Evergrande Group files for bankruptcy protection in New York. A big lizard is on the run since last week after it escaped from Kadoorie Farm. And Ukraine has to wait longer for F-16 fighter jets. A search is underway for a water monitor lizard that has gone missing from the Kadoorie Farm and Botanic Garden in Lam Chun. The 1.5-meter-long creature named Aberdeen escaped from a temporary enclosure while it was undergoing medical treatment last Friday. But the farm appealed to the public for help today, as they have not managed to find the reptile. Authorities are worried that Aberdeen could be injured or even killed on the streets when he goes foraging for food.
He'll be quite frightened if people try to get too close to him, so he'll probably run away. But the important thing is if the public can give us information about where the sighting is, we can send our professional keeper team and they can go to try to find him and catch him.
According to sources, National Security Police have raided the flat of a woman surnamed Yu, who was in contact with fugitive Nathan Law. She was taken away from her home in North Point for questioning. Yu is known as the godmother of activist Joshua Wong and is linked with former members of pro-democracy group Demosisto that was co-founded by Law. It is believed the National Security Department is investigating if she has had any financial exchanges with Law and Demosisto. Employees working for Sky Post, which will cease operation next month, will be offered assistance by the Hong Kong Journalists Association. In a statement, the association said that it has become increasingly difficult for media organizations in the city to operate commercially and provide free publications. The group hopes media organizations could consider the effect of talent loss while trying to cut costs, adding that laying off experienced journalists would affect the news quality and press freedom in the city. 5 people convicted of robbing a jewelry shop were sentenced to up to 8 years in jail, while a convict involved in the Yuen Long riots had his appeal quashed. Over 30 watches and 6 leather bracelets worth $23.1 million were robbed from a store in Tsim Sha Tsui in July 2018. Within the same month, police arrested 4 suspects and another man who sold 8 stolen watches. All 5 defendants, aged 22 to 46, pleaded guilty to their charges. During sentencing today, High Court Judge Joseph Yao said the defendants had neglected people's safety by using batons, knives, and hammers to threaten staff. They had meticulously planned the crime, he added. Yao sentenced Chang King Long, who drove the getaway car, and Lau Chak Shing, who robbed the store, to 7.5 years in jail. Ricky Chai and Liu Kai Wing, who stood guard at the entrance of the store, were each sentenced to 8 years in jail, while Sun Kai-in, who sold watches in exchange for cash, was put behind bars for 2 years and 9 months. In another case in the High Court, Judge Anthea Pang rejected Ching Wai-ming's application for an appeal against his conviction and sentence. Ching was among a group of white-clad men who rioted and assaulted people inside Yuen Long MTR station on July 21, 2019. He was jailed for 4 years and 3 months last year. Ching argued that his conviction was not valid as he was singled out and police did not identify other offenders at the scene. Pang responded that there is no need to identify other offenders as there is enough evidence to prove Ching's crime. However, she stated in the judgment that Ching was not alone when the crime took place. Pang also denied Ching's claim that Deputy Judge Newman Wong was biased. Customs officers have seized 16.8 million illicit cigarettes worth a street value of $62 million. Officers became suspicious after 40 containers carrying cassava were shipped from Cambodia. An X-ray check revealed different density between items stored near the doors and the back of the containers. Upon physical checking, only a few boxes contained shredded dried cassava, while the rest were illicit cigarettes. Chiu Kai-wing, acting senior investigator, believes the increase in tobacco duty has led to a rise in the smuggling of illicit cigarettes. The United States has approved the transfer of F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine in its fight against Russia. But Kyiv can get the warplanes only sometime next year, as the U.S. needs to sign off the transfer of training materials, simulators, and manuals. Azam Khan reports.
Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, one of Moscow's few allies in the Ukraine conflict, said that Russia is not pushing his country to join the war against Kyiv, but stressed that Belarus is ready to respond to any external aggression. He also hinted at using Russia's nuclear arsenal, which is deployed in Belarus if needed. He added that Russia's goal of neutralizing Ukraine as a threat has largely succeeded, and it was time for Kyiv and Moscow to sit down for negotiations without any preconditions. Meanwhile, Washington's commitment to provide F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine is finally gaining traction. NATO members, Denmark and the Netherlands, have offered to help to train Ukraine pilots and maintain the aircraft. Both nations have fighter jets, which would be going out of service next year. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken assured that Washington would approve the requests. But Ukraine will only be able to use the jets probably sometime next year, as training the pilots would need some time. Defense analysts say the jets will be of little help to Ukraine, given Russia's advanced air defense capabilities. Moscow had previously warned that the transfer of F-16s to Ukraine would be a colossal risk that could escalate the war. The development comes as the United Nations expressed concern over the growing transfer of weapons and ammunitions into the conflict.
The influx of weapons and ammunition into any armed conflict can contribute to the escalation and presents significant risks of diversion and proliferation even after the conflict has ended. I call on states to consider joining relevant treaties and agreements and to fully implement their legal obligations under conventional arms control instruments to which they are party, as well as their political commitments to minimize the risk of diversion of arms and ammunition.
Ukrainian forces are in the midst of a counter-offensive to regain lost territory from Russia, but both sides have conflicting views on the success of the operation. Azam Khan, HKIBC.
Wildfires in northern Canada and the Canary Islands have prompted thousands of evacuations. The mountain-top fires fanned by strong winds are spreading rapidly and are proving to be a major challenge for firefighters. Azam Khan reports.
Thousands of residents have been forced to flee Canada's Northwest Territories as raging wildfires continue to ravage the region. Nearly 240 wildfires of what has been Canada's worst season on record so far were active across the area as of yesterday. Although the region is vast and sparsely populated, 20,000 people from its capital, Yellowknife, have been ordered to get out of the city. Adding insult to injury, many people have been struggling to share updates and news on the disaster during the active emergency situation, due to Meta's ban on news content for Canadian users. Canada's Parliament passed a bill that requires platforms like Google and Meta to negotiate deals with news publishers for content. Meanwhile, Spain's wildfire troubles this year continue, as the country's army assisted some 250 firefighters overnight to tackle an out-of-control blaze that started 2 days ago on Tenerife in the Canary Islands. Tenerife's main town of Santa Cruz is 20 kilometers away from the flames, but evacuation orders have been given. People have been asked to stay indoors due to hazardous air quality. Officials say extreme temperatures compounded conditions, which created the most complicated inferno the Canary Islands have ever had to deal with. Asam Khan, HKIBC.
Mainland developer China Evergrande Group has sought bankruptcy protection in the United States. The filing will provide temporary relief as the group looks to restructure its $330 billion debt. Chloe Fong reports.
With over 2.4 trillion yuan of debt load registered by the end of last year, roughly 2% of China's total gross domestic product, China Evergrande, once the second largest property developer on the mainland by sales, is now preparing for the worst scenario. The group, along with its two units, Scenery Journey and TNG Holdings, have sought protection under Chapter 15 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code. The move protects it from creditors that hope to sue them or tie up assets in the U.S., while it works on a debt restructuring deal. In a filing in the Manhattan Bankruptcy Court, the firm sought recognition of restructuring proceedings being carried out in Hong Kong and the Cayman Islands. The filing came as China's property debt crisis deepened, with Country Garden, the mainland's largest developer by sales, lurched toward a possible first default. It also came amid growing fears that problems in China's property sector, which accounts for about 1/3 of the country's economy, could spread to other sectors as growth slows. Last month, Evergrande posted a combined $81 billion loss for the past 2 years. First listed in Hong Kong in 2009, trading of Evergrande shares was suspended in March last year. Chloe Fong, HKIBC.
Hong Kong stocks fell to their lowest level in almost 9 months, ending a brutal week. The China Evergrande ripple effect saw the Hang Seng Index dive 2.1% as investors slashed portfolios amid growing turmoil in the mainland's property sector. JD Health was among the worst hit, dropping 13% over a lower revenue growth forecast. Parent JD.com lost 5.3%. Developer Long4 Group sank 3.8% on fears that many of its shopping malls could be brought under the Real Estate Investment Trust or REITs. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index ended the day down by 375 points. To the top 10 active stocks, Tracker Fund was down 40 cents, Tencent was down $7.80, while Alibaba was down $3.10. Ping An was down $1.10. JD.com was down $7.40, while AIA was down 90 cents. On to the weather now. It will be mainly cloudy tomorrow with occasional showers. Temperatures will range between 26 and 30 degrees. Thunderstorms and showers will continue for the next few days. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Friday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Maisy Mok. Thanks for watching. Good night.